Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to the review show where we look at everything that's gone on in the last week in boxing, including the fights from the weekend. That's George Kambosos Jr, Jake Wyllie, Skye Nicolson, Tiara Brown and the rest of that card, as well as Sebastian Fundora fighting in America. Normally I say straight into the action, but this time we thought we'd do something a little bit different. We'd open the show remembering George Foreman and Colin Hart, who both, unfortunately, the boxing community have lost over the weekend. First of all, Big George Foreman, where do you even start with him? One of the most well-known, one of the most feared, revered heavyweights of all time. What a man.
Yeah, those are the type of characters when you first start taking an interest in boxing. People like George Foreman are the type of fighters you first heard about and watch, and they just, like, remember as a younger version of myself.
I was going to say, you probably remember his first fight.
I was going to say, I wasn't old enough to actually watch him, but...
No, we don't believe that.
But yeah, when you're younger and you sort of see these characters, they're almost like superheroes, like how impressive they are just to watch and to look back on their career. And he's almost sort of a man of two careers in many ways, the scary, everyone was terrified, big hitter, where he first started, and then he took 10 years out, come back, become the oldest heavyweight world champion at 45. But yeah, a great career, and has left a lasting legacy in the sport will never be forgotten.
Unbelievable fighter. And I just remember when we heard the news of his passing, I just quickly went on YouTube and searched up Rumble in the Jungle and just watched that fight back, and it still amazes me to this day how good that fight was. And you look back at his career and he's had an unbelievable career, one of the best, I think. And yeah, it's sad news that he's passed away, but my God, we can look back now on what was he had an incredible life, and his fighting career was just unbelievable. You know, after his career, I think everyone owns a George Foreman grill, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's earned a lot from that, but yeah, just sad news that he sadly passed away. But we got the opportunity now to rewatch a lot of his fights, and yeah, it's always good when you can go back and when you watch something that was so good like that Rumble in the Jungle was, to watch it back again and again and again and remember it, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, you're not wrong. When I did the same as you, when I found out, I watched back some fights on Sunday and then on yesterday as well. I watched that one. I watched both the Frazier fights. I rewatched the Jerry Cooney fight, which is one of the best uppercut finishes just of all time. He just lays him flat out with a single walking punch and then just kind of knocks him over with the other one. But yeah, like you say, he comes from an era of heavyweights, or two eras of heavyweights that are like just the golden years, and he spanned across all of them. You know, he made his debut, I think, at 20. He retired at 48. That is such an incredible... And you talk about that era, like, so Foreman handed Joe Frazier his first loss. Frazier handed Ali his first loss, and Ali handed George Foreman his first loss. Like, they just don't make them like that anymore. Mm-hmm. The three brilliant heavyweights who each on their day could do each other, and brilliant fights, like you say. That Joe Frazier fight, the power behind George Foreman's punches, puts him out in 2 rounds, knocks him down 6 times. That is scary.
Yeah, it's something that always interests me when you watch sports, and particularly like boxing, when you think back to those like old school heavyweights. If you could have someone like George Foreman in this day and age with like the top elite sort of the way they look after each other now and training, with his punching power, where would he be in sort of today's rankings of heavyweights?
Yeah, you don't imagine Alexander Usyk is lasting 12 rounds with George Foreman, and that's not a disrespect to Usyk, but then maybe we'll never know. But it's just, yeah, it's such an interesting thing, and it's nice, like you said, Harry, albeit it's sad that we've lost him at just 76, which is obviously isn't super old, but it's nice to know now, or be able to now use it to look back at the old fights and remember, you know, what he was and how great he was. And some of the ways you can do that is through some of the old writing of Colin Hart, who obviously we lost as well, sadly, who you know, from our point of view as people going into sports journalism, that's the kind of the people you look up to, like the Hims, the Donald McRae's, people like this, that you're like, yeah, you paved the way for us, really.
Completely agree. I look up to Colin Hart, and you were talking about Steve Bunce did like a podcast about it, and incredible story going back to this Rumble in the Jungle sort of thing, weren't it?
Yeah,
Beforehand.
I listened to it this morning on the way down, but they recorded the podcast last October for the 50th anniversary. Obviously, Colin and Steve sitting down to speak about his story, and just listening to him speak for like that 45 minutes, I'd recommend anyone who's interested to go and listen to it, because you can tell just sitting there listening to that story why he's regarded as one of the best boxing journalists, because his ability to tell a story is amazing. And I was just sat there listening to it, just almost felt like you were there in the moment, the way he was describing it and everything that happened. And obviously, as three people that want to go into sports journalism and cover these sort of things, getting to experience a moment like that. The Rumble in the Jungle is a once-in-a-lifetime moment, and not many people would have been able to say I was there ringside to watch that happen. So if we're ever lucky enough to get a moment like that in our lifetime, I'd be very happy. But yeah, I definitely recommend to anyone to go and listen to that, 'cause it's a great story and very well told as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Finish it off. Favourite George Foreman fight, moment, or thing. I'm going to ban the use of Foreman grill. You're not allowed to say that as an answer. Albeit revolutionary. Like I said before, the George Foreman grill walked so the air fryer could run. But what's your first to mind moment that you can think of?
I think it's just, I was watching it the other day after obviously heard the news, the win against Michael Moorer to become the oldest heavyweight champion of 45. He was like, the punch just to win there sort of almost comes out of nowhere, but showed his power. It doesn't even look like he throws everything into it, but it's just the size and the strength of the man was really showing, even at 45 years of age, after he'd taken, 10 years out of the sport. And yeah, I don't think it may be a record I don't think would be broken in this day and age either. So yeah, I think I'd pick that as the memory that I'd remember.
Fair enough.
The Ali fight, the first one. Unbelievable.
The Rumble in the Jungle. Yeah.
You can't, nothing beats it. And one thing I can't believe, he faced Evander Holyfield.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about longevity in a career. This man is unbelievable. 81 fights, 76 wins, 5 losses. And somehow he managed to face a 28-year-old Evander Holyfield in that career. Obviously lost it, but still, out of all the names you've boxed, you can still tick off that. And incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, 28 years after his debut, he retired. You know, Shannon Briggs, who obviously lost to in his last fight, retired in 2015, 16 probably. Like, the fact that he made his debut in 1970, and then the man he fought his last fight to retired in the mid 2010s is obscene. Like, that is.
And his professional debut now, Foreman, at Madison Square Gardens.
Not bad.
Third round stoppage win, 1969.
Olympic gold medalist as well.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, you say that, not stoppage win. I think I was having a look. Out of his first 44 wins,
there's loads.
42 of them are by knockout, and the other 2 are unanimous decisions. Like, that is unbelievably going. I'm going to say mine was the first Joe Frazier fight.
Okay.
Handing Joe Frazier his first loss in 2 rounds with 6 knockdowns. Partially made as a great fight because Joe Frazier just kept getting back up. But it just, that power, so scary. So yeah, massive shout out to both men who unfortunately are no longer with us. And if you guys at home go watch back their fights, because it's great to see. Into the action now. George Kambosos Jr, Jake Wyllie, that main event, last minute step in from Jake Wyllie, and probably made it a better fight, didn't it? In the end.
I thought Kambosos looked very sharp, especially the first few rounds. He looked like a very top version of himself. I think he slowed down towards the back end, and the cut didn't help.
No, my first note I made was like, wow, he looks sharp and he looks quick. Now up at super lightweight.
Yeah, I weren't sure if it was necessarily the fact that he was slowing down later in the rounds, or whether once he got that cut, it was just like, right, let's just get to the end of this fight to make sure we don't have no further issues, because that Richardson-Hitchens fight is obviously the one that they've got planned. Whether he'll make the day, June 21st, they've got set in stone for
Sometimes,
that.
Yeah. How long did that wait? 3 months?
So whether he'll be ready for that with a cut, I don't know.
It's doable.
it's open for Jack Cartrell if
Yeah.
Kambosos isn't going to be there, but obviously that's what they're working towards. But I thought he looked really good. Obviously needed a win and wanted to make a statement here because I think it was a matter of, for Kambosos, if he doesn't impress you, then there's nowhere else for him to really go. But yeah, him and Richardson Hitchens now, next fight, would be an interesting one to watch.
All props as well to Wyllie as well, coming in on short notice and going the distance with someone that's got aspirations of becoming a world champion again.
Took some absolute bombs.
And gave some as well.
And gave some, yeah.
And
yeah.
what I liked about it, every single round, it seemed like he turned back to Kambosos Jr. and was going, is this the best you got? Is this all it is? And
Yeah, I'm still here.
yeah, exactly. And everyone was, I predicted that I thought he would have got stopped within 6 rounds because I've never seen him before, never heard of him before. But for him to go 12 rounds of George Kambosos Jr. is unbelievable. And it's great in a way now that hopefully we see him again, because that's what he deserves. He should deserve now to have another opportunity on a big show like this, instead of being, put to one side and back on the shelf and potentially just fighting on small halls in Australia. This kid now can, there's a card coming up in, I want to say May. Chuck him on there again. He's got a contract with Matchroom. Give him the fight that he deserves now. Give him that stage that he can show off what he is capable of, because obviously he came up against a very good fighter in George Kambosos Jr. on Saturday, but he deserves to come back after that. We see it so many times in Riyadh season now with fighters are taking fights where it could be, if they win, it changes their life. For example, Josh Padley. Imagine if Jake Wyllie won on Saturday.
Yeah, it would have been a huge difference.
Exactly. And
You can see why he's got 15 stoppage wins as well.
Oh, yeah, he does hit. He
he's a
seriously
tough
hits,
guy.
and he took some shots. And yeah, he just looked decent. The scorecard reads as a scorecard of
I don't think it was a 150, 130.
No, it wasn't. But it was a close-ish fight, a close enough fight, albeit Kambosos was winning in everyone's eyes. It wasn't a complete one-sider. A fair play to him for that. And like you say, Kambosos Jr. now looking for that Richardson Hitchens fight, which I think is a good fight because Hitchens is a talented fighter, and it's going to be a tough ask for Kambosos, but that's what you've got to contend with if you want to be a world title. You've got to beat the best.
Yes, I think it is the last roll of the dice for him in terms of world title opportunities. But like you said, once you get to that level, then every test you're going to come up against is a tough one. But yeah, like we've already said, I just thought he looked very sharp in those opening few rounds. The shot selection and just the speed of his punches, I thought he looked very good.
He looked really quick. I don't remember him being that quick as a lightweight. I didn't remember watching him and thinking, "Oh, he's lightning." And he's a quick puncher, obviously, but in that fight, I remember watching him going, "Oh, like those jabs are sharp."
I think it reminded you of why he caused Teofimo Lopez so many issues and ended up giving him his first loss. He looked back to his best although it was against a last-minute opponent that you would have expected him to beat. I think it's helped him and built him well now, ready for this fight in June.
Yeah, if it was an easy fight he'd walk through, then you'd argue he wouldn't be ready for a world title fight. That's the kind of perfect warm-up fight minus the cut, you'd imagine. So, yeah, it was a really good fight. The round, I think it was 5 and 6, I think it was. Well, unbelievable rounds. At the end of them, they were just trading, really going for it, trying to win those final sort of 30 seconds, and it was just a good one to watch, easy one to watch. Went down with the cereal well in the morning.
Dude, that was a good thing, man. He was all over by midday, wasn't it?
I quite like it. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it's
I
nice
was
to
going to
have
put in the
an
group
early
chat, I don't mind these morning shows.
Yeah,
Get it
yeah.
out the way, and we can enjoy our Saturdays then. But no, it was a great performance. And like you said about the cut, I think when he got back cut, it was just all about getting the job done now. Let's stay out of danger. He knows he's got a big fight coming up. So what's the point in, looking for the knockout? Just get the points win and make a statement by I thought it was not a shutout. I agree with the 117, 111 scorecard, but it wasn't closer than that, I don't think. But hopefully he can get that Hitchison fight now, because that would be some fight. Fair
Yeah,
play.
absolutely. And then on to another fight this is so irritating, right? Because every single podcast we've gone, oh, do you know what? This could be the fighter that causes Skye Nicolson a few problems. And then the last one, we sort of went, do you know what? We've said this every time, and it hasn't been the case, so I'm not going to say it. I did everything in my power
So everyone blames Sam now.
to not say the words, she could be the fighter that causes Skye problems, because we keep saying it and no one does it. And what did she do? she caused Skye more than a few problems. She's gone and beat her. And I think whilst you could say that possibly some people thought Skye won it, some people thought Tiara Brown won it, you can't argue that Tiara Brown deserved a decision there, and there's no issues with the result, is there?
I was shocked to see her get the decision, but I thought she deserved it. And obviously I weren't here for last week's podcast, but even I think I mentioned to you, I said this has got all the makings because of the build-up and how confident she was. And she was really like stating how she was going to get the best of Skye Nicolson. I just said it's got all the makings of someone who's going to turn up full of confidence and get beat in every single round. But it was anything other than that. I thought she was really impressive. She deserved the win. And we've heaped praises on Skye Nicolson and how good she is. She's definitely one of the best female fighters in terms of technical boxing skill. But I feel like sometimes you've just got to show a bit more than just trying to nick every round.
Do you know what though? I think that the problem with this performance was it almost felt like, and I don't know if this was something Tiara Brown was able to drag her into, or if it was a conscious decision because she was at home, or what it was. She seemed like she was standing still and fighting more than she normally does. It wasn't textbook Skye. And I know she said she didn't feel great in there, but normally you see her and she's sort of backing herself up onto the ropes, and then she's round and she's out and she's boxing on the back foot. And in this one, it just seemed like she was almost trying to stand and trade, and then getting caught in the clinch, and maybe that drained her a little bit. I don't know. It just seemed an odd performance, and that's not to take away from Tiara Brown in any way, because like I said, it could be that she brought that out of Skye. It just was that it wasn't textbook.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was a lot more of an inside fight than we'd expect. And I think, like I said, Brown sort of brought that out of her. It was at any time they go, she didn't really allow Nicolson to have much space. She tried to stay on her toes as much as possible, and at any point where Skye was getting any sort of success, Tiara Brown was just sort of shutting it down, just jumping on her. It was a bit scrappy in parts, but she done everything she needed, I thought, to get the win, and I thought that she was really impressive and really backed up everything she said in fight week.
Rematch?
I was going to say yes, probably. But one thing I couldn't stand? The commentators. Oh my God, it was bad.
Very biased, wasn't it?
Tiara Brown needs to cut off the ring better. Skye's showing her no. Tiara Brown has cut off the ring better than anyone has against Skye Nicolson by a country mile.
How many times do we get that in boxing, though? And they can change the verdict then of fans watching on TV, can't they?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough. I just missed the fight, so I caught back up on it, and I already knew the result, and I'd seen the kind of Twitter and stuff, so I knew one way. But like you say, if I was watching that live, there's every chance that I could have been somewhat swayed by that. That's why I often listen without commentary if I'm trying to score the fight, because
if it's Andy Clark commentating, you've got it on full volume, hopefully.
Absolutely, yeah. And if I hear Sergio Mora or Chris Mannix, then it's just mute instantly. I'm more than happy to say, but. Yeah, rematch, I think so. Why not?
In America as well.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, like you say. Who says no to putting it on the Serrano Katie Taylor undercard on Netflix? I don't think it happens because of promotional. Card? I don't know.
I think that might be because they got Alicia Baumgardner on there as well.
Yeah, because she's now with MVP. But I just think I would like it over in the States, obviously, because I think Tiara Brown's earned it.
Well, she's A-side now.
Well, in Florida somewhere, yeah. They've got that Caribe Royale that they're good with.
Do you think the rematch will go similarly? Do you think it will go more towards Brown, or do you think Skye will go back to sort of thinking, nah, do you know what? I need to just outbox her and maybe win a few more rounds in doing so?
It's a tough one. It's not as if this was massively one-sided, rounds either way, then Skye Nicolson nicks it on a split decision, so it could be near enough the same next time, but Nicolson might just get that extra round that she needed. But I'd definitely be keen to watch it again. I thought it was entertaining the whole week as well, the back and forth between the two of them. It builds it up and makes it a bit more exciting to watch.
Something that you haven't seen from Skye Nicolson, has it? Throughout her professional career, someone actually go and face off with her and talking to her continuously throughout the week.
Yeah.
And she obviously potentially played on her mind a little bit, She probably won the mind games there, Tiara Brown.
That's what I mean. Maybe after that, Skye sort of thought, nah, do you know what? I'm the champion. I'm in my hometown. You're coming here and disrespecting me. I'm going to show you how good I am. I'm not just gonna outbox you. I'm gonna beat you up. And that wasn't maybe the fight that suited her. Maybe she was dragged into that, and that might just be speculation, but it did seem off from her. It seemed like she was trying to dig in with the shots a little bit more as well and hold her feet and land with a bit more power. And I suppose there's a degree of, we've seen it in the past, of champions winning on someone else's terms, and you go, look how good they are. They didn't just win on their terms, they won on someone else's, whereas she didn't in this instance. She gave the judges a decision to make, and it didn't go her way.
I was really shocked that Tiara Brown got the decision.
Yeah, I didn't think she was
Australia,
gonna,
mind.
I really didn't think she was going to.
When it read 97, 93, you went, oh, Skye Nicolson.
Yeah.
But, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining by any means. It's good, but
I had Skye by 1, but you can make the argument that Tiara Brown could have had it as well. So
yeah, I think I had it like pretty much a draw, and it could have gone either way on a round. And I think I was probably leaning more towards Brown, but I already
it was a
knew the
hard
result.
fight to score. The first couple of rounds, you were like, oh,
there wasn't much in it
No.
in terms of clean work and consistent clean work. So yeah, it was a difficult one. A fight or a set of fights from now on out that weren't necessarily so difficult to score. Cherneka Johnson, she picked apart Nina Hughes, didn't she? And did so dominantly. Too quick, too strong, too good.
yeah. And it puts to bed now all the question marks that she had after the first fight between Nina and herself.
Yeah.
You know, everyone says it was a robbery. It was the announcer's fault, the most clipped thing, most viral thing in boxing last year. Unbelievable. But yeah, to put in a performance like that is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And the way she did it, you know, she just ran it. She came in and just kept on putting her down, and then great call by her corner. You know, she's not winning the fight. She's losing every single round. Let's get her out of there. Save her for another day. And, you know, potentially now for Nina Hughes, where does she go from here? You know, why is she 43?
42, 43, yeah, somewhere around there.
She's not at the start or in the middle of her career. She's at the end of it now. So it'll be interesting to see what she does. But, you know, what an incredible performance by Johnson. I thought from the first fight, she looked a completely different fighter. She looked more confident. She looked like she had a point to prove. I think that's the most important thing on Saturday. She's thinking, that fight wasn't a robbery. I deserved to win that fight last time out. And she proved exactly why she deserved to win that fight last time by stopping her. And yeah, just incredible.
Yeah, to be honest, I think the fact that you had all the chaos like around the result last time, I had Cherneka Johnson winning the first fight anyway. Like regardless of what, obviously they just read the scores out wrong. So, but yeah, it was a dominant performance in this one. Sort of put to bed any of the issues from the last fight. And with Nina Hughes, I don't think there's much else for her to do in the sport now. Like I can't I can't see her going anywhere else from this in terms of, obviously she'd be, would have thought she'd want to be fighting at the highest level and fighting for world titles, and if that's not going to happen now, I don't see her having any further interest in going for any other fights.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and she's had a good career, so you know,
100%.
Call out while you're still good. You know, fair enough. And it was like we said, it was a good fight. A fight that wasn't necessarily such a good fight, but was over pretty quickly. Teremoana Jr. Teremoana,
That's
to give
better.
him the name that Harry always insists I give him. Beat James Singh in the first round. What did you make of his performance, Harry? We'll start with that.
It was a great performance, but you're thinking now, I just want to see more of him. You know, he's had so many first round stoppages. It's unbelievable. And you just want him now to be tested. I think that's the next thing now. He's getting all this hype down there. Send him over to the UK, put him up against an Eastern European, take him over to America, put him up against a Mexican, American sort of heavyweight and see what he's like against them. Because no disrespect to James Singh, but he is nowhere near the level of Teremoana, is he? Let's be honest.
No, he's not. He's not.
And he's not at the level to test him as well and take the punishment that Teremoana would dish out. And that's what I want to see from him now. It's great that he's getting these first round knockouts, but when you're trying to draw comparisons with heavyweights coming through, you can't really draw anything just as of yet because he hasn't been tested. He hasn't been given that fight where people are going, ooh, why is Eddie chucking him in against this guy? And I think that's the next logical step for him is get him over to the UK, get him some decent sparring, because that's the worst part about Australia. There's not the big heavyweight scene down there, is there? That everyone talks about. Justice Hooney, I think, is the only proper big name down there in Australia, but get him over in the States, like I said, get him that world-class sparring to see the improvements, and potentially in his next fight we could see him, instead of looking for that finish in the first round, he can see it, but he's gonna, I want 3 or 4 rounds out of this, and we'll get him out there then in the 5th.
But is there any point in doing it if it's there? Like, the problem is he's so powerful and he's got such a big frame that he is, like you say, there's no one that can take that punishment at that level. I actually thought this performance was, albeit this is crazy to say for a first round knockout, somewhat underwhelming in the sense of he took some big shots he didn't need to take. James Singh caught him with 3 or 4 huge right hands that, if he's a better fighter, are going to cost you.
Yeah.
And I think, like you say, that might be reflective of the opponents, and he went in there and he was confident and he was like, well, whatever. Or reflective of sparring, he hasn't been tested at a level that he knows he needs to kind of be more switched on. And you talk about it, but for me, that was a fighter way too good for his opponent that didn't actually put in his best performance. Personally, that's what I think.
I agree with you. I don't think that was... It was impressive to get the first round stoppage, but what has he learned from it? Like, like you said, he took some massive shots, and from 6 pro fights, I don't think he's progressed or has learned anything new. And if those bad habits of keeping your hands down and taking big shots stay there when you're fighting against a higher class of opponent and someone who's a bit tougher and is not just going to be a punching bag, then you could find yourself in trouble. You don't want to get too comfortable fighting these sort of easy fights that those bad habits stick around, and then you're getting caught with big shots against big punchers who will know how to finish you off, because there's plenty out there in the heavyweight division, and I think there will be a few heavyweights kicking around the same sort of level that would be looking at him and thinking, I fancy my chances if he's going to leave himself so open for shots and be as comfortable getting dragged into a fight.
Yeah, it's why I think, like you said, Harry, you need to give him like an Eastern European or a British heavyweight that is going to absorb that damage, and you're not going to put them on their ass. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm thinking of someone maybe like a Michael Webster, or
the guy who fought Moses Jolly in Cardiff. I think that's a perfect opponent.
Yeah, but he's been stopped quite a lot. I forget what his name was.
Amani Bachetta or something like that.
Yeah, that was it. But he's been stopped quite a lot by heavyweights. I'm just talking a real sort of...
people that can take it and dish it out as well. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want. Someone who's coming forward and testing him as well. And the thing I'm disappointed about is that Singh didn't react after the referee stopped the fight, and like his last fight.
Yeah, true.
I was waiting for that. I don't know if you saw the clip. Unbelievable that he just runs across the ring and starts fighting. And it wasn't a brothel, it was a brawl.
Yeah.
It was a brawl.
Let's get that across.
Let's just nail that on the head quickly.
You slightly messed up with that one.
I was too excited when I was reading it because I couldn't believe what I was reading. But no, it wasn't the best of performances, and I agree in a way that when you're walking forward with your hands down, just swinging those arms, that you leave yourself open for big shots. And if he carries on like that, he's obviously going to get found out and he's going to be put to sleep by someone the more he goes up the ranks. But at the moment, I think Eddie Hearn said it, just put him on a world tour, give him that experience that he needs, because he's still early in his career. He's 6-0. All right, we haven't learned much about him apart from that he's
7-0, isn't he? I think
he was 7-0 and 6-0, whatever he is. He's a big puncher. That's all we know. We want to know if he's a good boxer. What other attributes has he got that, can get us excited for potentially a future great in Australian boxing?
There's no doubt he's talented, but the thing that worries me is if he has too many fights like Saturday, is getting used to all those bad habits sticking around and not learning from them. And then, like you said, once you step up a level and people can take the punches a bit better and can stick around and can throw back, if he's going to leave himself so open, it's inevitable you're going to find yourself in trouble at some point. And no fighter, regardless of who you are, is going to want to keep taking too many big shots, because inevitably it weighs you down and it'll come a point where you can't take those shots anymore. So yeah, I think that's the only thing for me, is just, even though you're fighting someone you're comfortable enough to beat, still treat them as if you're in there against a higher level of opponent, because you can still have your lights switched out at any point. Yeah,
absolutely. And that pretty much wraps up. I don't think we talk about all the fights on this card, and I I do enjoy these cards in Australia.
Yeah.
I think I said it in the last podcast we've done the preview. I was like, they're just fun, aren't they? They're enjoyable. I quite like the early morning stuff. There's some good cards. It seems like there's good atmosphere in the stadiums. I'm all for them. The more the merrier.
The first fight was really good as well. The Katev and Palacio fight.
That was fight.
Palacio
That was.
is tough.
That's what gave me the win on the predictions. That one, because
he made sure to put that straight in the group chat, didn't he?
because I said to you,
That was my alarm,
Harry,
actually.
you have just said that an Argentinian's going to get stopped.
They don't.
Are
do
you
it.
okay? They don't get stopped.
That's
and he
the
didn't get
theory
stopped.
that Sam goes
Katev
off.
can punch, mind. But he's similar again, him.
But
in
Palacio
terms of
just-
he took a lot of shots as well, and you could see he'd sort of throw those flurry of massive power punches, and then his stamina would be completely drained, and that's when Palacio would come back in and sort of. So I thought Palacio done quite well in that he had success in pretty much, bar the round he got dropped in. Had success in every round, but Katev was just doing a bit too much, I think, to win the rounds. But I thought it was a really good, fun fight to watch.
It's a good fight to open a card, isn't it?
8 in the morning. It was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's what you want. It's what you want at the first thing in the morning to wake you up. There's nothing more sobering than someone being punched
Then a
in the
grueling
face.
10-round fight.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that we didn't touch on at the end of last week, just because of awkward timings with when the news came out, was obviously TKO Boxing have their leaked pay structure has come out. Let me just
You're going to have to
Google
explain
it.
this to me because
Yeah, I'm not too sure about it.
So
I
for
will.
those who haven't seen it, let me find the picture that's been going round. So this is obviously, like I said, rumoured. So
they're leaked.
Have you got it?
don't sue us.
I've
It's
got it,
leaked, rumoured. It's not confirmed. I've got it up here. So it's going to be in the TKO Boxing. It seems like there's going to be $20,000 purse for 10 rounds if you're an unranked fighter. $50,000 if you're ranked between 5 and 10. $125,000 between 3 and 4. $375,000 if you're challenging for the championship, and $750,000 if you're defending the championship. And I believe in the contracts the idea was for there to be a minimum, you guarantee you a fight a minimum of every 5 months, obviously without external factors of injuries and things like that. What do we make of all of that as a whole? Just as a concept, as anything.
I think for the first, like, £20,000 for a 10-round bout for an unranked fighter, I think that's good.
That is good money.
But I think the lower down you go in that list, you're thinking, I don't know.
But
Compared
especially
to what boxers are getting paid nowadays, compared to that, is unbelievable.
that's what I don't know as well as how it works with the different weight divisions, because a heavyweight is earning considerably more than a lightweight, or
Because
I
there's more
forget
interest,
what
yeah.
because there's more interest in it, and it doesn't allow for huge names to get the money that they deserve because they're bringing X amount of.
I can't see any elite level heavyweight willing to settle for a 750 grand payday.
Of course not. Like a defending world champion, no chance.
So it'd be interesting because I thought once they sort of announced this whole TKO thing, I very much had the thought of they are going to try and take over. But if that is how they're looking to set up, where does that belt rank amongst the sort of more traditional titles?
I don't know. That's
I don't
probably
think that's a conversation. I think the other
Just
titles are
From
way above
the
it.
unranked, like you said, the unranked for 20 grand, 25 grand is what you get paid as a base pay for a British title fight. So there's no reason why people at British title level or below, they're going to be more than happy to fight the 10 rounder for 20 grand because that's probably, for some people, that's their
Life-changing.
career payday.
that's what they're getting anyway. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, as you move up, but that even then it's 50 grand to be within the top 10 in the company. So
That's not much at all.
no, like you if you looked now at the top 10 heavyweights in the world, no, a single one of them would roll out of bed for 50 grand.
Can you imagine, like, Ajit Kabayel fighting, I don't know, who's ranked? Moses Atoma, you're thinking, there's
50
no way.
grand.
There's no way that would happen.
Yeah, this goes back to our concern with it, wasn't it? With it's just how many boxers there are.
Yeah.
Like there's so many elite boxers compared to MMA, and obviously there's that this all sort of comes was framed amongst what was a pretty poor UFC London, wasn't it? That fans aren't happy about.
Yes, it was quite poor. Yeah, I agree.
And it all, again, we keep saying it. It'll be interesting to see what it actually looks like because this is all speculation for now. But I don't think Eddie and Frank are going to be losing, sleep over this.
I think they're laughing. I think they got a little bit more of a smile on their face.
And they're in their
just
WhatsApp group chat with
yeah.
Ben Shalom now, I'm sure.
It's just trying to figure out where it fits in terms of, because I thought, well, if they've got a set pay structure, it's going to limit them to what fighters are going to get involved, because if you're getting paid £750,000 to fight for what they class as their world title, compared to if you went and fought for the WBC belt, you're getting paid a couple of million probably, depending on
who you
what
are.
weight class you're in. It might work better for lower weight classes where they don't get paid as much, whereas if you're getting paid a flat rate of...
But then Dana in the past, when the UFC launched, they didn't have the lower weight classes.
Yeah.
They just got rid of them. And it was only once they had realised the success of, what was it, WEC or whatever it was.
How many
when
weight
they
classes
brought them in.
are they talking about?
It's like 5 or 6, I think. It's not much.
Oh.
I don't know. It's interesting. Let us know down below if you guys have any thoughts or feelings, how you would, whether or not you'd roll out the bed for 50 grand for a 10 rounder, that sort of thing. Let us know all of that.
In a good way, mine as well. It could push a fighter that's, what was he, like 10-0, and he's done a couple 4-rounders, 6-rounders, 8-rounders, and he's thinking, hang on a minute, let's go up to 10 rounds straight away, maybe. Like, have a couple 4, 6-rounder, and then go straight for a 10-rounder.
Yeah.
Thinking of paydays, who knows? But, yes, for the top of the division, I think it's a bit worrying that they're going to be getting paid hardly, not even like 50% less, It's considerably lower than what, you look at what Fury and Usyk got paid for that rematch in December, and you compare that to that.
Yeah, it almost feels like
night and day. Unbelievable.
they do this, and then once they've defended their TKO belt once, they'll go, do you know what, now I'm going to move over and I'm going to start challenging for a Commonwealth title or something. And it's like, that's like I don't know. It'll be interesting. Like I said, let us all know. And I think that pretty much wraps it up for the review episode this week. Obviously, we've got a preview show coming on later in the week, so subscribe for that. Follow us on all our socials and stuff. Lots of great content to come. Down at a show this weekend. Lots of exciting shows coming up that hopefully we'll be going to. So stick around for all that good stuff. Thank you all for listening or watching on YouTube, and we'll see you all later in the week.
Punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.